How you doing, Blake? Good seeing you again, buddy.
Hey, I'm doing great. It's good to be back. This is my first time on Twitch, so
Yeah,
I'm
welcome to
super
Twitch.
excited about this. Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah, this is a new frontier for you.
Yeah.
I've been here a while, and History Apprentice. Good evening. Thank you for that. Yes, that was pretty fancy. Thank you for that. Evil Evan, thank you for the follow as well. 2 hours ago, Twitch has been a lot of fun for me, especially during the pandemic. And it really
Yep.
kept me from going insane. I met quite a few good people on here. So
Yeah.
welcome to the 21st century, Blake.
Glad to finally be here.
Yeah, yeah. It's the right thing to be talking about on Twitch, and we talked about
Yeah.
this after we did our last. What we did, cartoons of the '80s was the last one we did.
Yep. Yep.
And we did that on another streaming platform, which I won't discuss on this platform because Jeff Bezos will get mad at me. And I'm sure he's not watching, but and we're like, let's do something on video games because we talk about gaming and the humanities and stuff like that. What better way or place to do it than here? So
Yep.
here we are. But yeah, we're already getting lists in the comment sections.
Oh.
I mean, come on, Benjamin's already here, dropping some bombs on us here with this stuff. Thank you for the first time chat, Benjamin. Welcome in.
Yeah. Hey,
The Lucky
Ben.
Doctor is here as
Yeah.
well. We got some fans in the house.
Hey.
We got all kinds of people in the house. Thank you for being here, everybody. The Lucky Doctor, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. See, this is great. We're growing a community.
This is awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so for anyone who has not watched one of my top 3 streams, Blake is usually my go-to guy for this. It's like third time on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so top 3 is my idea of introducing people to historians in different ways instead of us just bloviating about what we know, and let's talk about what interests us when we're not on the clock. And
Yep.
that's why we do these rando things. So what Blake and I are going to do when we get involved here in just a minute is we're going to go up the list. We're going to start at number 3 and make our way up to our number 1 choice for top 3 NES games. And after every round, we're going to take a little break, and you're going to get the opportunity to answer a poll question of whose choice do you like better. And we would also love to know where you're from in the chat, and we also want to know what some of your choices are, as Benjamin has already got us started on that. Blake, was the NES your first console, or was it later?
The so I never owned an NES.
Okay.
It was the first console I ever played. So the first, and I'm going to mention the particular game that I saw the first time
Yeah.
I saw one of these. Uh, Really blew me away, and so didn't have one. Played it a number of times with family, friends, cousins. Usually, one of my cousins would bring one to the family Thanksgiving, and that was always a big treat. So, yeah. What about you? Did you have one?
Yeah, I had one. It was my first console.
Yeah.
Um, I was too young, I guess, for Atari. I
Hmm.
just wasn't my thing, and I tried it, and I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I tried it
uh,
one time, and
yeah, I had
yeah.
a family friend who had it, and I was just not into it. So
Yeah.
uh, I remember my dad. I went over for visitation for Christmas, and he was the first person to buy me an NES, and then my my grandparents back home bought me one. So I think my dad just bought it for himself, and because he only saw me for 4 hours every 2 weeks, and I think he just bought it for himself, and he's like, "Oh, here, Merry Christmas," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're playing it all the time, aren't you?" Um, and then my family back home, they bought me one, but I was a big
Yeah.
fan. And I was a big Nintendo guy for a long time until
Yeah.
PlayStation came out, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that was when it all kind of transferred over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. PlayStation was the big one, was the big like TV system for
yeah,
me. And And the crazy thing is, I've had some good experiences with some of the more modern games, up through. I'm trying to think, like, what's the most recent fun game? Um, uh, oh, my wife just texted me. I just figured out who the lucky doctor is. That's too
Oh.
funny. Yeah, that's a friend of
Okay.
ours. That's a friend of ours
Yes.
who is a doctor, who's a physician. So
Nice.
good to see you, Corey. Um, and but uh, but anyways, like uh, there's something about the old games from when you were a kid, whatever age was the right age for you, like playing
Mhm.
those, like there's just kind of never anything like those again.
Yeah.
There's just something special. And part of it may be, just bad memory, but just short, like because there have been some old games I've gone back and played and had fond memories of, and then I start playing
Mhm.
them and they're like impossible to play.
Yep.
And
Done that.
like I remember this being more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd I do this when I was younger? Yeah. Yeah. I've been like that many
Yep.
times. Since I got the Switch and I'm playing some of the older stuff again, I'm like, I don't know how I did this. So I do
Yeah,
the old
yeah,
man thing now and I just stick with like one old game that I can at least do well in, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
again, for everybody joining in, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Lucky Doctor, thank you for the follow. Evil Evan, thank you for the follow as well. I really appreciate you helping to build the community. We're going to get into our list. And as I said, we're going to start at number 3 and we're going to go up to our number 1 choice, but we're going to take breaks between each round so you all can vote in the poll question. And we're going to open our screen up here so we have some visuals. Hopefully, everything works according to plan. Blake, get us started with your number 3 pick, my friend.
All right, number three. Okay, so I gotta qualify my list here a little bit because when I think about when I get these assignments from John, I'm like, how much more impossible could this be? Narrow it down to three.
3.
So the way I think about it and approach it is I'm thinking about the three games that were most influential for me.
Hmm.
Whenever I played them, which games were most influential to me. So my number three is Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario
There you
Brothers.
go. There
So
you go.
um, 86. When I think of playing a video game, this is the music I think of.
Mm,
This is the visual I think of. Um, uh, Platformers, side scrolling. Like this is kind of what comes to mind as a classic video game.
mhm.
I loved this game. I was not very good at this game. I was the younger of the cousins, and the cousins didn't love sharing with me when we were playing Super Mario because I'd
No.
usually lose some lives. because and it was always on something dumb. I'd like jump into the wrong thing, or like
Yeah.
jump into a spike or something. Um, so um, so yeah, I was the annoying little cousin that lost too many lives on Super Mario. But but still loved it. It's classic. It's forever in my memory. It's got probably the best video game soundtrack of all time. I
Mm,
mean, like just
mhm.
it's iconic. The ba-da-da-da-da-da. I mean,
Yeah.
like you can't beat it. Can't beat
Yeah.
it. What about you? What do you think on this one, Jay?
I do like the soundtrack choice, and fun fact, you can get it on vinyl. They have
Ooh,
so if you're into vinyl collecting, if you like to collect records, everybody, you want a 33 and a third speed. you can get Super Mario records. They are new
Whoa.
cut too. It's not like it was from 88 or 89. They're cutting the stuff in the modern sense. And then they have the art on the outside of the record. So it's kind of like some people just collect it for the art, some people collect it for the music.
Wow.
So that music is
Wow.
iconic so much so that they're pressing it on vinyl. Um,
That's awesome.
to get all of us who like avocado toast and vinyl. So, you know, uh, but yeah, excellent choice. Excellent choice. That was obviously that one was usually came with the system.
Uh-huh.
Um, and
Yeah, I can't imagine the Nintendo without it, you
no,
know? Like
no,
it's just
yeah,
it's
yeah,
peanut butter and jelly.
yeah, it's iconic. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to go with that. So we have a discussion going on in the chat about Halo 3 as well. So that's a whole different list going on. Baron, how many people learned what rage quitting was because of Mario? Well, apparently Blake's cousins were were raging about him losing his lives. That's what was going on.
You know, you know what happens? I was actually when I was playing a video game as a kid, it was more entertaining, I think, to watch me playing it than it was to watch what was actually happening on the screen.
Yeah.
I was one of these kids who like physically manifested what was going on the screen. So if like I'm trying to, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like dodging
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I was very
You were
absorbed
animated.
into it.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh huh. Yep.
See, you're made for Twitch. See? Need to start you over here on this. Uh so I too had to wonder top 3 to me, what does that mean? And
Mm,
I could go with my top 3 that were like close to my heart, but some people will probably never have heard of them, or they don't they don't sell 3 million copies.
mm,
And they're going to be in my honorable mentions because I know we both have honorable mentions come out. So I went with more of the iconic Mario, or not Mario, the Nintendo um, system kind of things that we still have in popular culture, that
mm.
impacted us in popular history and popular culture. And so I have 3 that I hope the chat will like and maybe vote on one. So we'll see. But for number 3, solid choice here. I got to follow up here with on Super Mario. My number 3 choice is Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which later just becomes Punch Out.
Mm, mhm.
This one's released in '87, and Mike Tyson still signs artwork for Punch Out. I see them at the sports stores to this day. So it's that iconic
Wow.
that brand is so iconic that he's still a part of it in that way, which is kind of odd
Uh-huh.
because of what I'm going to say here in a second. It's released in October of '87, so I was 6 going on 7. So this was before I had my NES. This is an adaptation of the Punch Out and Super Punch Out arcade game. The You play Little Mac, and he's trying to go up the ranks of the boxing empire. The original game's final opponent was Iron Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson, Nintendo lost the license to Mike Tyson in 1990, and so they had to go with Punch Out instead of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. So there's 2 iterations of the game because of licensing.
Uh,
Tank Hunter, nice to see you in chat. Welcome in. Benjamin also tells me almost had this one on their list, so thank you for that one. Remember to vote early and vote often when that comes up, Benjamin. Um, yes. So when the new one is released in 1990, just Punch Out, your final opponent is Mr. Dream. And Mr.
Ooh.
Dream's likeness and his record is based on Rocky Marciano. So you go
Whoa.
from Mike Tyson to Rocky Marciano as the final person
Yeah.
to fight. There's some really cool walkout music, like themes for different opponents. Glass Joe has La Marseillaise for France. Von Kaiser, Great Tiger, and Super Macho Man have the Ride of the Valkyries,
Uh,
and Soda Popinski has a Russian folk song of the Volga Boatman when he comes out there on the screen. 2 million copies of the original game were sold in North America in 1988, and all in all, 3 million were sold. So
wow.
I kind of look at this from the popular culture standpoint that it's still kind of iconic, and obviously your pick is very iconic, and the music, the what we picture when we think of Nintendo, we picture Mario. You know, we still
Mhm,
do.
mhm.
I went with more of a sports theme with mine, and also a person who was one of the most iconic heavyweight boxers ever, but especially of that time, mixed
Yeah.
with a game with that overlap. So, Mike Tyson's Punch Out is my number three choice. What do you think of that choice, my friend?
Man, that's a top flight choice. That was an awesome game. Um, Again, at the age that I was at, it was, um, you know, I only ma- I did not make it very far in the game, but it was a lot of fun, and it was also, um, I think one of the things that made Nintendo so awesome and that whole concept of home gaming so awesome was the ability to sort of pass back and forth. You know, you and a
Yeah,
couple of buddies, you and some cousins or siblings or whatever, and I almost beat. Ah, I didn't beat them. All right, my turn. Let me show. Let me get my shot at it.
right.
And that sort of competition among friends was always a blast.
Yeah. Voting is open, everybody, and there's a poll in the chat. Please go vote. You have 3 minutes to vote, so please do so. Yeah, that's a solid opening round for
Yeah,
us. I mean,
yeah.
if that's where we're starting, it's people are probably like, where the hell are they going after this? That's just nuts.
Uh,
Like Baron says, Baron, impossible to vote between the two, coming out with heavy hitters at number three.
yeah.
I mean, we gotta get your attention, Baron. We gotta
Yeah.
get
Hey, we we're not messing around. We didn't come
Mm-mm.
here to play games. This is
No,
serious.
no. We're taking up a Friday night for this. Okay. This this isn't like some
Uh,
wackadoodle Tuesday night. We need something. This is Friday night, baby. We're taking
yeah.
this serious.
Prime
We're taking
time.
this serious. Hey, while we're waiting for the poll to finish up, what's one of your honorable mentions, Blake?
Okay, honorable mentions. I'll give you. I started making my honorable mention list and I couldn't stop. So I'll give you two each in between. I got two honorable
Mm,
mentions
okay.
between each round.
Oh
So
wow, you got six.
Um, yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. Okay. All right. So the first one I give you, Double Dragon. Double
Oh, that
Dragon.
was one of mine. Yep.
Ah,
Love
Double
that one.
Dragon. Which
Yeah.
it's the whole brawler concept.
Yeah.
or the I don't mean brawler. I mean beat 'em up. Like
Yeah.
the whole, just like we're gonna send a bunch of dudes at you, and you just keep punching until finally there's no more dudes, and you
Yeah.
go to the next level. And so I love Double Dragon. It was really cool. Was there a cartoon? Was there a Double Dragon cartoon?
I don't know. Chat, let us know if
Yeah.
you know. I don't
I've
remember.
As I was thinking about it, I felt like there was someplace else that I think there was. I think there
Maybe,
was a brief Double Dragon cartoon. Anyways,
maybe.
um, and then my other one, I mentioned the first time I ever encountered the NES. It was the first home video game system I ever saw, and it was at some family friend's house, and they were playing a game called World Class Track Meet. World Class Track Meet.
Mm,
And the thing that was special about this game was that it was sold with the Nintendo Power Pad, which was a floor control, kind of like, on like the Dance Dance Revolution arcade games back in the day.
yeah.
It was a floor pad. And so in this track game, you would run the hurdles against a computer opponent, and you would actually get on the trackpad and
Oh,
run.
wow. Yeah.
And this was like seeing this in my friend's living room for the first time was just, I couldn't even believe it was real,
Yeah.
that you could physically interact with something that was going on your TV. Was
Yeah.
just, it just blew my mind as a little kid. So,
Yeah.
this is not some spectacular game or anything, but it was, eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'll give one of my honorable mentions, and then we'll uh, release the poll thing here. My favorite, I'm just going to go right off the bat with my favorite NES game, close to my heart, that doesn't get the credit it deserves, is Paperboy. I
Oh
love
yeah,
Paperboy. Paperboy is my jam, and I would play that thing
yeah.
for hours. And it never got the credit I thought it deserved, and it didn't make my top three because of that. But if I was going on what was in my heart, it's definitely in my top three.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was a big Paperboy uh, kid growing up. So yeah,
that is
Paperboy's
cool.
definitely one of
That
them.
that is cool.
60-40, Blake takes the first round. How about that?
Really?
60-40.
Whoa.
I will say that Benjamin gave me some props that I got the vote because Super Mario Brothers being a number three is just wrong to him.
Well,
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you.
that's totally fair. That's a totally fair criticism. I
Yeah.
think had I been any better at playing the game, I would have liked it more. But
he's just scarred from his
yeah,
childhood.
exactly. I
Yeah,
just remember all the time seeing Mario's big eyes as he, falls
his
off the screen.
yeah, his cousins still haven't talked to him since then. Uh, so all right, that's good. That's good. See, it's not a rigged vote. See, the guest gets it. Blake, we're gonna go to our number two position now. What do you have for your second choice for number two?
All right, number two. Um, for me, this was a tremendously important game because again, the like just built in um, ready-made competition with whoever you're playing with, right?
Mhm.
It's short, quick games, ready-made competition. Um, it's got some very simple but great characters in it, and it is very hands-on, intuitive, easy to understand, pick up, and play. For me, my number two is Duck Hunt. Duck
Yeah.
Hunt. Um, Man, I played, I don't know how many hours of my childhood at friends. I mean, um all the way like into high school. I had a friend in high school who still had his NES hooked up in his
Wow.
bedroom,
Wow.
and at spend the night parties we would play Duck Hunt.
Nice.
And I mean, it was just so
That's
much
awesome.
fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, can you hear my dog barking?
Yeah. Someone's at the door.
Yeah, yeah, you heard that? Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not sure who it is. Um,
Someone
it's
else to
all right.
vote for you in their poll, apparently. Uh, yeah, the Lucky Doctor Duck Hunt was way ahead of its time, almost like a Connect game for NES. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Almost like Connect.
did you know? Well, a couple of things. I totally agree there, Doc. Um, it- First off, I almost paired Duck Hunt and Mario together.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because they were released as a bundle
Yep.
later. They were repackaged as a bundle,
Yep.
um, which in and of itself, that bundle may be the greatest Nintendo game of all time. I mean,
Yeah.
you got those two you got plenty of hours worth of playing ahead of you. Um,
Yeah,
but did you know? I don't know exact. I think the game. Somebody will know probably how the gun actually worked. Yes, exactly.
there
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
Oh, that's classic. I
yeah.
love that.
I
Yeah.
I've, I had to pick that up for old time's sake, uh,
Yeah.
just because I have one of those old protectors, and I'm sitting back here
Awesome.
for in the background. I'm like, oh, what game do I put in? Mario Brothers and
Yes.
Duck Hunt.
Yep. 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 It was. I mean, yeah. So perfect.
Yeah,
Um, did you know? Did you know that you can shoot? You can take a mirror, turn your back to the TV screen, and you can find your target in the mirror, and you can shoot in the mirror and hit your target.
I had no idea.
I don't know. Again,
Wow.
somebody else probably knows the mechanics of how it works, but the first time a friend showed me that, oh man,
Yeah.
then we started coming up with all kinds of crazy trick shots. Like, oh,
Yeah.
how can we,
Round corners. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Uh,
Theo, that was my first set. NES,
yep,
Mario, this game. Yeah,
yep,
this was the first
yep.
game because I got it that
Stop.
later point
Hush.
where uh, they had the bundle together because I
Uh
don't think the
huh.
first iteration of NES had them together. I think it
Right,
was the
right.
second like way around, and then it was a gray zapper, and then it went to an orange zapper.
Yep. Uh
So the
huh.
gray zapper is the OG zapper,
Yes. Uh huh.
and then it went to an orange because it matched the Nintendo up here, what you see on the
Yes.
screen.
Uh huh.
It was that white and gray.
Yep. Yep.
So,
With red
so
letters on
see, you're learning something, Doc. You're learning something here. We are educational.
it.
We are educational here. We're all about
Seriously,
education.
if anybody, I was, what's so funny, John, about these events that we do is I'll go and post stuff on my Facebook, and
Mhm.
of all my social media, I'm probably the worst at actually reading anything on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'll post stuff there, but I just don't spend a whole lot of time reading
Mhm.
Facebook.
Mhm.
And I was out in town earlier this afternoon, and a couple of friends from church ran into him, and they had seen the post, and we instantly got into this long conversation about the best NES games,
Yeah.
and found out that one of my buddies here in town like collects a bunch of old NES stuff
Nice.
and plays it, like, really just loves those classic games. And he had a lot of great kind of inside baseball about some of these different games.
Oh, so you use them to get information for tonight. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see how it is. I see
Well,
how it is.
I was that
Yeah.
kid tapping in the cheat codes at the,
Yeah, 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 yeah. You had the game genie. We know.
That's
You know, you had the
the
game
game
genie.
genie.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I may have had the game genie. I will never admit if I did or not. But solid choice back to back. You got to do the Mario slash Duck Hunt, and
Yep.
so yeah, solid choice all around.
Yep.
Um, again, I have to
All
go
right.
with
Top that. Top that.
yeah, it's gonna be tough. I have to go with iconic, and something that still reverberates in popular culture, popular history, popular memory when we think of Nintendo, and obviously, uh, Duck Hunt, Mario Brothers. To me, Punch Out is on there. My number two choice is Tetris. Uh, because I still play it,
Yep.
and it still gets me fired up and sometimes angry. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and it keeps people's brains occupied. Excuse me for a while. Tetris it was originated in 1985. Alexei Pajitnov in Russia came up and developed the game, and It was released in 1985. He had a great quote. He said, "Games allow people to get to know each other better and act as revealers of things you might not normally notice, such as their way of thinking." So he was
Mm.
already considering that in the he was in a Russian school for gaming and basically computers back then. You know, it was like computer
Wow.
tech stuff like that. In 1979 is when he entered that school. So 6 years later, he develops Tetris, the iconic game. Obviously, players create their lines through different shapes called uh, tetrominos. I did not know they had a name. So it's Tetromones, like dominoes, tetrominos. Uh,
Okay.
you complete the lines, they disappear, you get the points, and you keep going until it basically floods the entire screen and you can't go anymore, and then the game is over. As I said, it's released on NES in 1989. So it came out in 1985, but it's not released on Nintendo until 1989, and it sells over 8 million units. Why is it not released on NES until 1989? Because there's a fight over who has the ownership rights of Tetris. The first people to say they had ownership rights was Atari. Atari said they have ownership rights, and the game was released by Tengen. Remember those games, the Tengens?
Mm-hmm.
They had the gold
Mm-hmm.
outline on them, black and gold outlines. So
Mm-hmm.
Tengen had it, but they lost the gaming rights in a court battle to Nintendo. So if you ever see a Tengen Tetris game out there, pick it up because it's a collector's item. I think they only made about 100,000 copies of it. So how many have been thrown out and lost and all that along the way? It's probably a good little thing to have.
Yeah.
Sega was going to release a Tetris for the Genesis and backed out when they saw the Nintendo court battle happened. And they're like, no, we're not going up against Nintendo, and we're not going to pay lawyers to try to get this sorted out. So there was going to be a Tetris on Genesis, and
Wow.
it never came to fruition. Uh, Tetris is also one of the three games used in the 1990 Nintendo World Championships. So you had kind of like, you know, what we're doing on Twitch now, where we have gamers doing competitive or they're acting competitive or whatever the case may be. We had these back in the day, and the 1990 Nintendo World Championships, they had Tetris, Super Mario Brothers, and one that's going to be a honorable mention of mine, which I'll just throw out there right now, Rad Racer. Those were the
Ah,
three.
yeah.
So Tetris is obviously iconic, and it's still iconic to me. I still play it on my Switch. I still play the Game Boy version on there.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Nintendo wanted the rights to Tetris because they wanted to release it on the Game Boy. They felt like it was the perfect thing to release on the Game Boy.
Yep.
So that's why they decided they would go to court over it and try to win this court case, and they did. So
Yep.
Tetris is my number two choice.
Fantastic. That's a great choice. I wondered, as I was thinking about again trying to cut out so many great games to get it down to three. I was
Yeah,
hoping that somewhere on our list Tetris would show up because it is an excellent game. I personally I think of it as the Game Boy game because it was the
yeah,
perfect pocket game. Um,
yeah.
Played so much Tetris on Game Boy. My wife is exceptional at Tetris.
Really
It is probably her all time favorite video game.
nice.
Um, it'd be between that and The Sims, but
Yeah,
um, she loves Tetris and she's really good at it.
nice.
And it had some good music too.
Yep.
And the cool thing, the music would speed up as the game was speeding up. You know, so you know, for like a ADHD kid is kind of it's a little anxiety inducing because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's gonna, yeah, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. You have to turn the volume down.
yeah.
Just cheat by turning the volume down, you know, because you know it's just gonna get your heart rate up and you're gonna be like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, I'm losing. I'm losing. I'm losing."
Yep. Yep.
Uh, everyone, please go vote in the poll. It is now open, uh, in the chat. Again, thank you for joining us tonight as we go through our top 3 NES games and mention our honorable mentions. Speaking of which, Blake, you have 2 more.
Yeah. So first one of these, I'll mention here, the DuckTales game. The
I never played that
DuckTales,
one.
yeah, I was a big fan of the TV show,
Mhm,
the cartoon show,
mhm.
and this was a case where um, the video game was, a licensed video game. It was actually a pretty darn good game. Um,
Hmm,
DuckTales, yeah, a lot of fun, great animation. Um, and I've coupled this with another one that was a real favorite. I was just talking this afternoon with a friend about this. Um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
uh,
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 was adapted. It was ported from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game,
yes.
and that was a really, this sort of reminds me of part of what was so exciting about the Nintendo at this time was that if you went to, for me, the places where I would go to the arcade was, when we went to Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut had a game room,
Yep,
with arcade
yep,
machines,
yep.
and Chuck E. Cheese, or it was called Showbiz at the time. Showbiz, of course, had arcade games, and
Yeah,
um, and being able to, you play these and there's still nothing quite like playing some of these games on the cabinet. I mean, that
mhm,
that was, but being able to bring the game that you played for actual coins and quarters at the arcade, to be able to play that at home
yeah,
was, oh my gosh, like you felt like you were living in the future because you
yeah,
could do this,
yeah,
like, and so, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 was one of those for me. Get to bring the arcade game home. It's got the animations from the cartoon show. Um, and it was awesome. Tons of fun.
yeah, yeah. I have 2 honorable mentions, so I'll save one for the end. Uh, Another one that I played a lot, was Blades of Steel, the ice hockey game, and, this
Yes.
is still kinda like a cult classic amongst those of us who love hockey.
Yeah.
We kinda grew up with Blades of Steel if we're that old, and,
Yeah.
that was like our first ice hockey game, and,
Yeah.
the funny part about that game was that if you got into a fight on the ice, the loser of the fight goes to the penalty box. So it doesn't matter if you started it or not. If you lose the fight, you go to the penalty box. And I love that part where it's like, "Oh, you got beat up, you go to the penalty box," so it made you want to, so it kinda combined a sports game with that, uh with a fight game, like we said
Yeah.
about earlier, like Double Dragon and stuff, because you're
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
punching the keys to fight and not end up in the penalty box. So it combined the 2. So I was always a fan of, Blades of Steel, and, I think it's on the Switch. I'd have to look, uh,
Yeah.
on there. And if anyone is on Switch, drop your ID in the chat. We'll
Yeah.
friend each other and play some of these crazy things sometime.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
60-40, Blake wins again. So
Dang.
this is getting good. Uh,
Dang.
Baron, did you play to win the game or play to win the fights? Yes. Mainly the fights, I will say that. I grew up in a hockey household, where my family always went to minor league hockey, the AHL, uh,
Yeah.
hockey teams. We didn't live far from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and so we would go see the Hershey Bears, who were affiliated with the Washington, uh, ice hockey team. So they're Caps affiliated, and my grandparents actually started going to see them in the 1960s, I think it was, or mid 50s, 60s. And my grandmother, who's still alive, we're gonna go see her on Sunday. She turns 90.
Wow.
She is about 110 pounds, like 5'4", and she went to watch the fights, and she loved to watch the fights. And so she still watches ice hockey today. She, her and my late grandfather were huge Pittsburgh Penguins fans, because they're Pennsylvania and there's family in Pittsburgh. And so I grew up watching Yarmir Yager and Mario Lemieux and all them. And she still watches every game that's not blacked out on the television. My 90-year-old grandmother still watches all that. So Blades of Steel was kind of like, you got to play this because you're watching hockey, when it's on in the 80s, or you're playing it, on there. So sports
Yeah.
games and
Yeah.
I kind of mesh. So Blades of Steel
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
one you mentioned. Yeah.
That's a great one.
Shout out to my grandmother for watching all the fights and being like, "Oh, here we go. We're having a fight." And I'm like, "Yep, Graham, here we go. Let's watch this. Let's see what happens." So,
I
yeah.
so growing up, and I think this is fairly common, but growing up in Alabama, hockey was not particularly a big sport here.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say we do, we did always kind of have some minor league hockey around, and NHL of course, like Nashville has gotten a team
Right.
and a really good team and
Right.
in over the past several years, and some good teams in Florida,
Mhm.
and um, but the times that I've been to watch minor league hockey in person is some of the most fun live sporting events I've ever
Yep.
been to.
Yep.
Football, basketball,
Absolutely.
baseball, none of it
Yep.
compares to how fun a
Yeah.
hockey game is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
it's so
fantastic.
fast paced, it's constantly
Mhm.
moving. You get
Mhm.
fights in it and they
Yep.
let them fight. I mean,
Yep.
it's so fun.
Yeah, when I was growing up, and we'll move on to round 3 here shortly, everybody. I gotta make this point though, because I know Blake's gonna appreciate this one because he's from the South and he's gonna appreciate this. So we would watch hockey, and then like usually after the hockey game, but sometimes before, we watch roller derby.
Yeah.
And it was like the original sports entertainment kind of thing where you got involved in roller
Oh yeah.
derby, and there
Oh
was
yeah.
an antagonist and a protagonist side,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
that was kinda like, if you didn't have hockey, you had roller derby.
Hey, I live in a little town just north of Montgomery, Alabama, the
Mhm,
state capital.
mhm,
There's a even smaller town about 30 minutes from here called Wetumpka, Alabama, or Wetumpka, Alabama, depending on who's saying it.
right.
Wetumpka, Alabama has a Tuesday night women's roller derby league.
Nice,
They do it every week. And I
nice.
found out about this in the summer. And
Amazing.
I'm like, I've got to get out there to see what's going on here because this
Yeah,
sounds awesome.
yeah. That would bring back memories, man. Holy moly. Yeah, because
Uh,
it was ice hockey, it was, roller derby, and then we watched the old NWA wrestling, and
oh yeah. Yeah.
that was like your Saturday night.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. You were set. Yeah.
You were set, you had it all, you know? I got to see hockey, I got to see roller derby, and I got to see the 4 Horsemen. I was like, "Done. That's all I need. My day's made." you know. So we got our first two rounds done. Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for the voting. We got our final round coming up now. This is our number one pick for top NES game. So we started out strong. I don't know if we might have started too strong, but we're gonna bring it on home. So Blake, what is your number one choice?
All right. This for all the marbles.
This is it. Well, I'm not gonna win. You got the first two rounds. So this is for fun now.
All right. All right. My number one is, for as much as Mario defined my idea of like classic Nintendo game, when I thought as a kid about a serious video gamer,
Hmm.
right? Before that was a thing, before there was a whole Twitch platform to, to watch incredible video gamers. When I thought about people who were serious about playing video games, I thought Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda.
Yep.
Legend of Zelda was the game that all of my friends' cooler older brother was playing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's right.
and and so it always had this mystique with me. Like Legends of Zelda, if you're for real, you've beaten Legends of Zelda.
Hmm.
Um, uh, uh, Now, all that said, I fumbled around with it a couple times when I was a kid, and couldn't make heads or tails of it. I had no idea what I was doing, and in part, as I came to learn, that's on purpose,
Hmm.
because Zelda drops you into a world, gives you no instructions.
That's right.
You don't have anything. You don't know how anything works. You
Yep.
don't know where you're supposed to go. You just go explore and figure out, oftentimes through dying. You
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
where to go and where not to go.
Yep.
It was one of those sorts of games where you could stumble into parts that were really intended for you to go once you had more abilities and once you had built up your armory and your strength and
Hmm.
things like this, your energy and all this. But it would let you go to the later parts of the game right at the outset if you wanted to, but you were going to die instantly if you went
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
so you learned really quickly, oh, I don't need to go there because I'm not ready for that.
That's right.
Um, so one of the cool things about Legend of Zelda is, probably, this for me personally, probably probably about 6 years ago. I moved to the town where I'm living now. We got settled, and I found out my little brother was going to college at the time, and he had the Nintendo Wii U,
Hmm.
which was like that kind of odd misfit console
Yeah.
between the Wii and the Switch.
Yeah.
And he he was playing, like Xbox games and PlayStation games. He was on to stuff like that. The Wii U was just sitting at home in his bedroom at my parents' house. And I see this that Christmas, and I said, "Hey, are you playing this?" "No, I'll never touch it." "Could I borrow it?" And so I took it home. And of course, I played some of the Wii U games that he had for it. But one of the things that I discovered was that you could play classic Nintendo games
Right.
on the Wii U.
Right.
And I thought, what better opportunity than this to go back and try my hand at Zelda again? So I bought the original Zelda, and I went to work on the Wii U and played my way through Legend of Zelda, like I said, about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was some of the most fun I've had playing a video game since I was probably in high school.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
it was so fun going back through this game that still unfolded as this great gameplay experience,
Mhm, mhm.
where like you really, it's a journey. It's a journey you're discovering. And
Yeah.
and man, it was so much fun. So because of the mystique I had for this as a kid, and because of the great experience I had in recent years playing through this game, um, I, Zelda's my number one. Love this game.
Nice. I, never played it because it looked so different from everything else that I was playing at that time that I was
Yeah,
just kind of, I don't know why you use the term intimidated, but I was kinda like, I
yeah,
didn't get it. I didn't
yeah,
understand it. Like
yeah,
you said, when you pick it up when you're young, it's kinda like, it's not a good
yeah.
fit for me, but
Yeah,
maybe it will be now,
yeah, yeah,
as I'm older, if I can get it
yeah,
on my Switch and play
yeah.
it. And now there's so many iterations of it. I mean, there's like,
Hmm.
I forget how many are out now, like 10 different Zeldas or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
8 or
yeah, yeah,
10
yeah.
or
There's
something. It's
time,
crazy.
and they're all. I mean, there's really some people will say Zelda 2 is a bad game. One of my buddies mentioned this on my Facebook post earlier. Um, some people will say Zelda 2 is a bad game. It takes a
Mhm.
different approach. It's a side scroller.
Mm,
It's the only one of the Zelda games
wow.
that does that.
Okay.
But even it is a really good game. Like I would venture to say there's not a single bad Zelda game. Every single one of them. There's some weird gameplay mechanics on some of them.
Mhm.
One of them is like a musical kind of game.
Huh.
I'm forget one of the handheld versions.
Wow.
What was it? The Minish Cap, I think is the one I'm thinking of. But anyways, they're all great video games, and especially
Mm.
the two new ones on Switch are
Mhm. Mhm.
awesome. Lots of fun.
I've often wondered if we can, uh, connect a line between those who play The Legend of Zelda on NES and, like, those who are deep into, like, Dungeons& and Dragons and or something like that, where it's like, it's that kind of quest game
Yeah.
that you go on, and when you're in it for the long haul. It's not like playing
Mhm.
Duck Hunt, and it's not like playing Mario. This is like,
It's one
a
you work on.
cognitive this is a
Uh-huh.
cognitive journey,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
and, you gotta think about the next move, and you gotta wonder
Mm.
what's going to happen next, and I think that for a young mind, who is used to, like, Tetris, Mario, Duck Hunt, stuff like that, that's that next tier, and like you said, it's like our
Mhm.
friends' older brothers are playing
Uh-huh.
Zelda
Yep.
at that
Yep.
time,
Yep. Yep.
so I totally get that, totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, solid choice, solid choice. This one's gonna be tough. This is gonna be a tough round, because people probably aren't going to, see mine coming, but, we'll find out.
Oh.
This was one of my favorites, um so this one is kind of near to my heart. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it when I was a kid, and I was starting to. It was in an era where I was starting to think about going to a different system. We had some fluctuation going on where a lot of my cool friends had Genesis, and I'm
Mhm.
still on the
Mhm.
NES, and I'm thinking about um, what we're looking at on the screen and how it's starting to become more crisp. The further along the games are coming, and we're seeing this new way of looking at games. So I had to think long and hard about what my number one was going to be, and I didn't want to go fully with my heart because I wanted to go with something a little bit more pop cultural, and so I went with a game that influenced quite a few other games, and I went with Super Mario 3 as the one
Mm.
that influenced so many other games and also influenced me and how I saw gameplay in a
Yeah.
different way. If you'll look on the top of this uh, graphic that I put, obviously this is the front piece of the game. You'll see the red marks up there. It's a curtain. This was done on purpose because this was supposed to be like a stage play. And that's why you have like these cutouts of shrubs and stuff like that. It's supposed to look like stage
Uh,
stuff,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're rolling out the landscape and you're doing all this. So the Japanese creators of this game wanted it to be like a stage performance. So that's why you have a curtain
Wow.
in it. This is released in North America in February of 1990. So we're starting to get towards that end where Super Nintendo is going to be starting around the corner. Genesis
Mhm.
is really ballooning because people are seeing that they have better graphics or whatever the case may be. So this is at the end of kind of like the Mario world, no pun intended, on NES. This is wrapping it up because now we're going to be going into Game Boy and then we're going to be going into Super Nintendo. Uh,
Mhm.
Obviously, we have the antagonist Bowser, who is holding Princess Toadstool, and Mario and Luigi have to go save the day, like they always try to do. This is the game that introduced us to Bowser's children, the Koopalings are introduced in this, and they will be in many of the other iterations of games for Mario Brothers for the future. They're still in there, still involved. The thing that I really enjoyed, that was kind of like technologically ahead of its time, or I shouldn't say that, I should say it influenced how we saw games, was that this is the first one where you have the map overlooking the Mario worlds. So you have like the globe setting where you can move, and it's different
Uh-huh.
than previous Marios.
Uh-huh.
Um, this is the third best-selling NES game of all time with 17 million copies sold. It
Wow.
also spawned, as we were discussed earlier with another game, we thought about perhaps this happened with this other game. It did happen with this one. This one spawned an animated television series, The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3. So we
Yeah.
have that overlap. I really appreciate this game too because now Mario can fly. Um,
Yes.
he had the super leaf and he had the Tanuki suit in this one. And I'm like, I never saw a flying raccoon before, but okay, it's kind of cool. Um, that was the Tanuki suit though. As of like the early 90s, I believe it was 1992, they just crossed over 20 strategy guides printed for this one game, and that was in 1992 or 93, I believe. So like 2 or 3 years after this comes out,
Wow.
there's 20 strategy games for people to read when we read strategy manuals and stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was out. This is also, to wrap this one up, this is part of the game canon at the Library of Congress as
Wow.
being seen as one of the best games produced that was in the North American marketplace and
Yep.
one of the most influential. So this is part of the game canon now, forever enshrined in the Library of Congress. So I wanted to pick
Wow.
Super Mario 3 because I was better at it than Super Mario 1. And like the one you chose, I was better at this one. And Mario 2 was right up there, but 3 is my favorite Mario Brothers of all time, and it was
Yeah.
right at the apex of the NES powerhouse in my mind. So Super Mario 3 is my choice for number 1. So,
Dude, that is, I mean, there are people out there who will argue this may be one of the greatest video games of all time. It is sort of the perfection of the the platformer
yeah.
style game. I mean,
Mhm.
it is excellent. I love those kind of meta elements that you're talking about, the staging and things like that. And I
Yeah.
think it's just incredible to see over the 8 to 10 years of the NES, just how far they were able to push the graphics. You know, as you said, with things like Sega coming along, the NES was showing its age, but still,
Mhm.
this is the same system that had launched, with things that look like Mario,
Yeah,
the
with that.
original Mario
Yeah,
Brothers. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
and now you've got like they're developing full on, still pixelated, but able to develop a more cartoon like style.
right,
Um,
right.
it really, really incredible. What And Nintendo has always been great at that, still to this day.
Yeah,
Nintendo always does more with with less power,
mhm,
than the competitors, with
mhm.
the exception of, here's a little trivia fact for you. Um, the Let's see, what generation would that have been? Um, uh, what was GameCube up against? GameCube was up against Xbox and
Dreamcast,
and Dream.
maybe?
Well, yeah, the Sega Dreamcast was there for a minute. It was the
Yeah.
Xbox and I guess was it
Oh, the,
PlayStation 2?
PlayStation 2, I think.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So PlayStation 2,
I think.
Xbox, and GameCube.
GameCube, yeah.
GameCube actually had the most powerful GPU of that generation.
That's right.
It was the most
Yeah,
powerful machine of the generation.
yep,
Um, and and it had some great games, but
yeah,
typically Nintendo sticks to lower power but just really efficient usage
mhm.
of um, their platform.
Yeah, and you don't hear about Nintendo's overheating,
No,
you know,
no,
because
right,
they
right.
don't need that CPU
Uh,
power.
uh-huh. Yep, yep,
And
yep, yep, yep.
you'll hear about it with other platforms, but you won't hear about it with Nintendo unless you
That's right.
plugged it in wrong or you overcharged it. You know, it's one of those deals where you're absolutely right. They did it so well, but you can really see. Thank you to the one person who voted, and thank you for voting for me. I got one. I got one. I got one round. It wasn't a complete blowout. Um, I appreciate that, everybody. Thank you. Uh, yeah, it it's one of those deals to where uh, they're going for different people.
Yeah,
Like I can go talk to someone who's a PS5 person, and then I can
mhm,
go talk to someone who's a Nintendo person strictly, and
mhm.
it's almost like it's two different ways of looking at gaming.
Yeah,
Because a
yeah,
lot of people are into first person shooters and all this other stuff, and then some people are into Animal Crossing.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like I'm more with the Nintendo people because I like that
yeah,
whimsical kind of thing, and that goes back to Zelda. It's that
yeah,
whimsical adventure kind of thing.
yep, yep,
So, you know, it's crazy to see the differences in the people as well with what they enjoy
yeah, yeah.
doing.
Well, and I
Mm,
and I just love that Nintendo has kind of always stuck with its identity. You know,
mhm,
they do what they do, and they're not. It's such a great just general lesson about life. I think there's such a temptation to try and compete with and be better. And I mean, that's Xbox and Sony's thing.
mhm,
They've been head to head at that for years now.
yeah,
But Nintendo really plays the game differently, and they stick to what they do. And Nintendo is also the system that has always been the easiest to. Um, it's the most accessible as a family system.
yeah,
That everybody
yeah,
from the kid in the house all the way up to the grandparents
yep,
can engage in playing their games,
mhm,
um, which is something really special and something that you can't pull off on a lot of the really uh, AAA games on PlayStation or Xbox.
right, right. It's all about that accessibility, and
Yeah,
that draws a new audience into the whole
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
Nintendo understands too that if you get the younger players, I mean young players, like when we started, like the 9-year-olds, like the
Mm-hmm.
8-year-olds, and they're playing Animal Crossing or they're doing whatever else with all this, that the parents are now going to buy those things for them.
Yeah.
So they're seeing it from a marketing standpoint too. They don't have to wait till these kids are 16 and they have their first job at McDonald's to be able to
Mm-hmm.
afford a game. They're getting it for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
so they're
Mm-hmm.
getting a multi, like you say, a multi-generational set of people who are interested because the 9-year-old downstairs wants to play Animal Crossing, but I do as well. So
Yep. Yep.
you got that thing where it's like, oh, and a 9-year-old doesn't want to play Call of Duty or whatever else, but they want to play Animal Crossing. It just so happens I do too. So yeah, they are they know how to market it, and obviously they've been
Yeah.
doing it for how many years? So I mean, it's
Yeah.
40
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I am glad that we started with Nintendo and not Atari, because
Yeah.
um, Atari and I just don't get along, and Nintendo is the one that's close to my heart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it brings it back to the way it was.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do have another honorable mention I want to say
Yeah.
before we go off, and I think you do as well. But
Yeah. Yeah. I almost
I
forgot.
do have to say, Excite Bike
Oh yeah.
was a big one, and it's still, for some reason, it's still a popular shout out for a lot of people are like getting back into Excite Bike now. I don't know why, but hey,
Yeah.
I played a lot of Excite Bike, so I had to do that. Had to give an honorable mention to them. You have a
Yep.
couple too, right? Don't you, Blake? Or one?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tecmo Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Tecmo Bowl football.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Well, you're from Alabama. Yeah.
right, exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And you know who else? Speaking of, you know who else is from Alabama?
Mm,
He's not. He didn't go to the right school, but he's from Alabama. Bo
okay.
Jackson, right?
Oh yeah.
Bo Jackson was like the living cheat code on Tecmo Bowl. You
Yep.
you pick the Raiders and you play Bo Jackson.
Yep.
Nobody's touching it.
No.
He
You went
was
to the
he was
wrong.
superhuman, as in real life. I mean, he
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
he was a living superhero.
Yeah.
So Tecmo Bowl was a lot of fun. Played a ton of that at family Thanksgivings.
Mm,
That was
mm,
the while all my uncles and everything were in the other room watching actual football. The
right.
kids were playing Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
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 Um, and then my other honorable mention, this game is so much fun. It is like if a Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger not 80s movie got made into a video game. Contra.
Yep. Someone mentioned that earlier in
Contra.
chat.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Dude.
Someone said
S-
Contra.
Yeah. So
Oh,
fun.
there it is. There it is. Yeah.
Um, challenging.
Yeah.
It had its challenges, but it was a just a blast of a video game. It was like you were playing an 80s action movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
Very
that
cool
one.
game. Yep.
Uh, One that I forgot that just came to my mind was Castlevania.
Yes.
Played that a lot too
Yes.
back in the day.
Yes. Well, and one of the neat things about Castlevania to me is when you look at the art style, it's got a bit of a sort of eclectic design to it.
Mhm, mhm.
It's got kind of, I always felt like it was mixing several styles. Like it had the like platform looking style of like uh Mario in a way, you're kind of walking on these, and that was just kind of the mechanics.
Right.
Um you had this like Dracula sort of, medieval castle sort of look to things, but it
Mhm.
also had this like Japanese twist on it.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
like all these different, and it made for this really just like perfect. and also everybody had long hair. You felt like this was like the perfect video game to watch while you were listening to, um, a Van Halen album or
Right.
something.
Yeah,
Def
White
Leppard. Or,
Snake.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, it was just. I think I've landed on the descriptor. This game was metal.
Yeah.
Castlevania was
Yeah.
metal.
It was
I mean,
oh, yeah.
that's yeah,
It was it
yeah.
was it was like the Ronnie James Dio of that. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Such a
absolutely.
good game.
Like the Dio Sabbath.
Yeah.
You know? Not Ozzy Sabbath, but Dio
Yeah,
Sabbath.
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
No, that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. I didn't think of it that way. I thought of it more
Yeah.
like a Conan the Barbarian meets, you know,
Yeah.
like a hair metal kind of
Yeah.
thing going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Castlevania was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember playing the hell out of that game. I think it's available on the Switch right now, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
for your Nintendo Online. I think Castlevania is on
Uh-huh.
there right now. But yeah, I mean there's so many that we didn't go over because they might not have been our top three,
Eh,
but
yeah.
it was such an iconic era because it's pre-internet and we had all the time in the world, and some of us
Yeah.
didn't have friends to spend out time outside, so we were in the basement playing Nintendo, and
Yeah. Yeah.
some of these things were just iconic to our childhood. And
Well, and I don't know if you had this experience, but like the conversations at school, especially like after a game came out, usually it
Mhm.
was it was when we came back from Christmas break, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gotten Christmas presents. You come
Yep.
back from Christmas break, and you're all trying to talk it out. Like, hey, okay, where are you at? How did you get past this? How do
Yeah.
you fight that? How do you beat that boss? And like
Yeah.
strategizing at school so that you could go home that afternoon and try it out, see if you
Yep.
could beat it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think in the social media era, we act like we've just discovered the ability to connect over and it is new, and things
Mhm.
like you and I being able to do this,
Right.
um, but like those things were social too. You
Oh, yeah.
know, I would
Yeah.
even, I would, I would even, this was a little bit later, like PlayStation games.
Mhm.
Me and a friend were playing through one of the Tomb Raider games at the same time. We would get home after school, we'd call each other on the phone, and we would sit on the phone playing the video game, trying to talk each other through how we were going to figure out
Mhm.
and that's how we played. We played
Yeah.
over the phone,
Yeah.
so it was like Discord, except
That's right.
on a
That's
single
right.
line. And then your sister always made you get off because she had to, call her
Call someone.
boyfriend or something.
That was the great part about being an only child. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
um, but I remember when I started on Twitch and I started hanging out with people on Twitch, people would be like, "No one wants to watch any one game," and I said, "You used to hang out in the arcades and watch people game all the time. It's just a
Mhm.
direct line to
Mhm.
that."
Mhm.
When we would go
Yeah.
to Aladdin's castle and
Yeah.
or something like that, and you would
Yeah.
stand around and watch other people play games and cheer them on or see how
Uh-huh.
far they would get because you're
Uh-huh.
watching how they do it, so you know how to do it. It's the
Uh-huh.
same thing. The line is
Yep.
there, and,
Yep.
so I knew that, you know, our generation was going to be okay with this because we grew up watching people at the arcade play
Mhm.
all kinds
Mhm.
like the TMNT game and the Michael Jackson game and all that
Yeah.
stuff back in the day. We were gonna
Yeah.
be fine coming on here and doing that,
Yeah.
and not only that, but coming from console life back in the day. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
talking it out, like you say,
Yeah.
"How'd you get past this level in Double Dragon?" Or "How'd you" whatever the
Uh-huh.
case may be. Gosh, those conversations went across the lunch table all the time, and like you say, especially after Christmas.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's a whole article we need to write. The the line from, watching people game at the arcade to Twitch. You know,
Yeah.
we've been
Yeah.
doing it. We've been
Oh,
watching
yeah.
it. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That might irritate a couple people, but that's what I'm here for. Irritate the right people, my friends. Irritate the complacent. Uh, no, but congratulations on another night of defeating me on the list.
Oh,
You know,
well,
it happens.
uh, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, you're a gracious host, and if I'd been voting, I mean, you had some doozies, man. It would have been tough. It would have been tough.
The last one was tough to me.
I think they were right on you. I mean, that Super Mario Brothers 3 is just a yeah, it's a perfect game. I mean,
Yeah,
it's that good. It's that good.
yeah,
It took all the things that you loved about Mario, made them better, and added more fun things like being able to fly. Like
right.
the good stuff got better, and the stuff they added was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yep.
the perfect game for me.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
one of the things. It's that would be if we did a top 3 list all time of games,
Oh yeah.
that would be in the
Yeah.
3. It
Yeah.
may not be
Yeah.
1, but it's in
Yeah.
the top 3,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, definitely. Well, everybody who's watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight while we do this. This is probably gonna be my last top 3 for a couple months because of my move. But I'm sure Blake and I are probably gonna get together and do another one. We'll do
Yes.
what are we gonna do? Like Sega next time or something? I mean, what are we gonna do?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I'd love to do some Sega. I mean, we can
we gotta
just
go in
start
order.
exactly. We can just go in order and just go all the way. I'm with you the whole way. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Wait
Yeah.
until top 3 Game Gear, and then that's gonna get really meta and really deep. Really quickly. It's like, what can I pick for Game Gear? But yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out,
Yep.
and we'll do another one. And thank you to
Yeah.
everybody who's voted, and
Yeah.
we
Thanks, everybody.
really appreciate everyone who's put their picks into the. A couple of you put your picks into the chat. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the follow again, the Lucky Doctor. Appreciate that, Evil Evan. Thank you for the follow. You're helping us build the channel here, and I want to do more of this instead of just gaming because it allows us to have some cool conversations and
Yeah.
hang out with everybody in chat.
Yeah.
We'll also be doing sometime soon here. We're going to be doing a trivia night. I have trivia games on here now that I'm building, so we'll do a trivia night and we'll hang out. And I said that if I had thought about it earlier, Blake, we were going to do our list and then we were going to do some Nintendo trivia after that.
Oh. Yeah.
So we'll incorporate that kind of stuff here in the future. But for anyone who wants a little sneak peek of that or a thought to keep in mind, uh, I will share a screen of basically the quiz, kind of like bar trivia night when you would have it at your local pub. If you are watching on your PC, you can scan a QR code onto your device, and that now becomes your buzzer. Or if you are watching on mobile, you can simply type in if you're watching Twitch, that is on mobile, you can simply type in an address for a website. All this is free for everybody to take part in. I'm the one who has to pay for it, not you. And then you type in a code for the trivia, and then you are on board, and your mobile phone becomes your device, and you pick, and we go on through there. So there's going to be trivia nights as well coming up.
That
I
is
made one
cool,
about
man.
historical documents and some other stuff, but I want to make some for like these kinds of events where we're talking about vintage gaming, uh, vintage stuff with cartoons, stuff like that. We'll do all that and hang out. So
Wow.
I'm sure Blake is gonna be like, I want to come on and do that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
for real.
Well,
Dude,
it's nice to have someone to
you did
talk
the
to.
snazziest stuff, man.
It's nice not to do it by myself because we can talk
Yeah.
like this and we can have a good
Yeah.
time. And co-hosting is great for me because I get to feed off you and
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
bounce ideas, and then chat can have a good time. And I think everybody wins, um,
Yeah.
rather than me just sit here and talk. So, but we'll do that. We'll do that here in the future,
Yeah, man.
especially after I get moved and set up, and hopefully get a good internet connection at my next place. Get hard lined into here. We will do some trivia nights as well. We'll do more top threes. I'm hoping that in the future, here on Twitch, I'll be able to run some like weekly chats with whomever, but definitely trivia nights, definitely top threes, and just weekly chats about whatever is going on, because I know a lot of you in chat get more out of that than watching me get sunk on some naval game again. So yeah, we'll go that route. But Blake, thank you so much for joining me tonight, brother. I really appreciate you, and the picks were amazing.
Oh man, this was our best one yet. I mean, this was
Excellent.
every. I mean, it was blow for blow,
Yeah,
and you know,
it was
neck and
close.
neck. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, this was the best one yet. You know, if we keep doing this at some point in the future, we might actually get good at it, and
that's right.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I might have more
No,
pop
I
ups and crazy videos and
mean,
montages,
oh,
and
oh man.
it's
No,
just gonna come to.
it gets
Go ahead.
better every time. It gets better every time. So
Hey,
yeah,
we're working on it.
it's always a pleasure, man.
We're